program. So Change Radio listeners from Facebook, they are all going to listen to the program. But thank you very much. And Leader Estella, if you do not have a problem, or if it doesn't affect you, you are free to pick up the mic and speak. But Dr. Maifa, back to you if you still have anything in as far as President Chamisa's speech was concerned.
Thank you very much, host. I think you have nailed it all. People interpret the message the way they want, and people had been saying Triple C Haina plan. Why are they quiet? Now when they speak, they are finding faults. So let people interpret the message the way they want, but true citizens who want change know exactly what the message meant, and it's okay to have different opinions about how somebody speaks. So we just move on. It's fine as it is. We can't always agree on everything, and the enemy always seeks to find loopholes to attack. But haticheuki muridzo, haticheuki muridzo, hatitodzori tsvimbo kutopwanya. Thank you, Mkoma Denford.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Maifa. And then the other stories that came up, which also got a wide space, was the issue of the Reserve Bank Governor Mangunja, who actually acknowledged that sanctions are not on Israel. The RBZ is not under sanctions, meaning to say all the imports and exports that go through the RBZ, they are not under international sanctions. And that was a deep slap on the face of ZANU-PF. Why? Because all along they've always been hiding over this issue of saying that the reason why Zimbabwe's economy is not going right, the reason why we are having all these social economic problems in the country, it is as a result of the sanctions. But one in their inner circles has just acknowledged that those sanctions are not taking place. So it's an issue that people mostly talked about. In as much as their spin doctors tried to spin the events, but people have understood. And I'm also happy that the international community, including our Southern African Development Community and the African Union, I'm not too sure how much they are going to be twisting this thing, but we know that a respectable institution in Zimbabwe has actually acknowledged that sanctions are not in Zimbabwe, only targeted and smart sanctions are the ones that are taking place in Zimbabwe. I know that the reason why Mangunja had to say that Zimbabwe's the RBZ is not under sanctions, it is because of what is going to be coming out of the Al Jazeera expose, where there are some financial illicit movements that are taking place through the Reserve Bank channels, and there were accusations that the reason why the RBZ had to do that is because it was under sanctions. So they're just trying to twist events. These are some of the things that we talked about. And on the issue of the Al Jazeera thing, we got an announcement from the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission. Its chairperson, I think it's I forgot her name, but she actually made an announcement that the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission is waiting for the expose of the Al Jazeera, and they are going to be trailing those people who are going to be accused. And it is something that is very interesting, Dr. Maifa, Estella, and Trends, to say if Zak is being sincere in what it notified people of Zimbabwe, we would want to see, because what we really know and what is within our conscience is that the top echelons of ZANU-PF are the ones who are going to be implicated, unless and until that documentary is going to be censored. We are going to be having very, very prominent people who are going to be involved, and possibly including the head of state. So we would want to see the strength and how Zak is going to be investigating. Dr. Maifa, do you have got something? Okay, let me quickly finish what I have, especially to do with the news, so that I can give Dr. Maifa the chance to speak, and then we can quickly go to the review of last week's topic. The other issue also that is just come from South Africa is that one of the major political parties in South Africa actually highlighted that in its inception of the party in 2020, it promised that top ZANU-PF officials are going to be, that is what it is going to be advocating for, that they would want to make sure that top ZANU-PF officials who are being implicated in human rights violations in Zimbabwe are not going to be acceptable to get into South Africa. So they actually indicated, and this is Action South Africa, which is headed by Herman Mashaba. He also insisted that way on this interview that he had just a few days ago, if not yesterday. So this is something that is interesting to follow, to say the election in South Africa is going to be next year, and we are very, and we are actually anticipating that Action SA is going to be having a big chunk of votes in the election, and most likely are going to be represented in the House of Assembly. And then the last thing that I would want to speak about the news last week is to do with what was said, that the daughter of the late president Robert Mugabe Bona actually part ways with the husband. This is just but something that could not be political, but it's also part of the news that we had last week. Dr. Maifa, you can finish off on the news, then you can go to the next stage.
Thank you, Comrade Lenford. Yes, some news come at a time when people are focusing on important issues that should shape the future of Zimbabwe, like that divorce issue. It could be true, it could be trying to attract or divert people's attention, but all the same, we are human. So if things are not working out for Bona, we sympathize with her and her husband, and we move on with our lives, and Zimbabwe has to move on. That's what I can comment. And then on the issue of the corruption commission, anti-corruption commission, it seems like now Al Jazeera has to do the work for them. If they were very effective, they should have been having their own researchers, their own investigators who would have caught it before the Al Jazeera issue. So it's just like trying to play around with our minds. There's nothing new that will come out of it. No one has ever been arrested. Just a catch and release situation. So we just watch and see what they do. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Doctor. We go ahead with our show. Last week we had a topic that was actually centered on the expose from Al Jazeera, and this was a bit sensitive to such an extent that a lot of people came with what they thought about this thing, and we actually made some parallels between what transpired in between 2019 up to now, in as far as how our mineral resources could have been channeled out of Zimbabwe at the expense of those by the alleged looters who could have evaded institutional frameworks in order for them to enrich themselves. And some of these things have always been in public domain. The exposés could have come from different independent platforms. That actually highlighted that this is what is happening in Zimbabwe, but because of this Al Jazeera and extensive journalism from in the investigation that took place by the Al Jazeera people, we are happy that we are going to be having videos, we're going to be having images of actually people receiving and speaking about how they are going to be doing their things. So it's something that we discussed about last week, and people said we realized that it's not only in Zimbabwe, mostly a number of African countries have had such problems. and we gave specific examples like what happened in Namibia, where a minister of fisheries, a minister of justice, a presidential lawyer, and a number of corporate executives that were involved. Fortunately for Namibia, it is good news to the Namibians, because all the ministers that were implicated, all of them, they actually resigned and they were arrested by the anti-corruption unit in Namibia. And we spoke about how that is going to be translated to the events that are unfolding in Zimbabwe. We realized that in Zimbabwe, it is highly unlikely that we will have public officials that are going to be arrested because of what we are going to be seeing in that expose. And we ended up actually, and some people actually deliberated that this could be as a result of people being so insulated, and their hearts are they've now just developed a thick skin on themselves, in as far as having some shock absorbers on issues to do with accusations of corruption. So they no longer have any conscience to say, if once somebody has been implicated, especially if you are an office bearer, then you need to do an honorable thing. So we concluded, and we actually suggested that there's a likelihood that one, there's not going to be any proper investigation that is going to be taking place, any prosecution that is going to be taking place, and heads rolling. There's a likelihood of that not happening, and we are also likely not to be having a situation in which people are going to be we are going to be recovering our resources. At this moment, I would want to say thank you very much to Mabosose for coming. Yes, it is a different atmosphere, like I said to Leader Estella, that we are not used to be having a few people here, but for the sake of consistency and for the sake of our listeners from other different platforms, we said we need to go ahead with our show, because it's a recording, and then people will just hear the content that we have, and just don't be ashamed of contributing, Mabosose, if you've got time, but I know most of the time you are preoccupied. So we are just quickly going through the review of what happened last week, where we were saying that we discovered that we have a responsibility as Zimbabweans to make sure that we need to continue speaking out. Some people actually highlighted that we have got a problem where we seem to actually throw in the towel, in the sense that we have realized that these people, yes, they do they just have to take it as it is, and Zimbabweans won't say anything because they are Masimba. So people will simply say no, there is no difference, either speaking or not speaking. But I remember Dr. Aranga actually insisted that it is important that we need to continue speaking out, and at one moment or another we will actually conquer, and we have our responsibility back. But Dr. Maifa, before we now go to the topic of the day, I think you might have a word or so as far as the review of the last topic of the topic that we had last week.
Yeah, the topic for last week was generally about ZANU-PF versus the Al Jazeera investigation, and people were in agreement that if that documentary comes out and the people who are involved get to be known, it is a good thing for them to resign. And it was also a good thing for the government of Zimbabwe to take action. And even if it's the president or any high-ranking official, they have to resign. And some people noted that the current government has a habit of like convicting people and at the same time forgiving them, or it's mainly the perpetrator, so it offends people, forgives itself for the offense, and moves on like nothing ever happened. So we were just saying it's up to us as citizens, wherever we are, to make sure that the rule of law prevails, and if there are people who are causing these corrupt activities to affect our communities, let's expose them and let people get to know that what is wrong is wrong. Thank you. Back to you, host. And welcome, Mabosose and everyone else. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Maifa. And we would just want to continue speaking out. And our topic today is the artistic freedom in Zimbabwe's volatile politics. And this topic, I know a number of people would have talked much about it, but we realize that it is also important to have an introspection as to what really is happening in Zimbabwe as far as the rights and responsibilities of artists in the country, especially when it comes to how our politics has got to be done. We that in Africa, if you are an artist, that's one thing that I've investigated and found that if you're an artist, and whenever you would want to do, especially a musician, whenever you'd want to do your music, they always would want you to either speak, sing, praising the status quo or the regime that is there, or else just be as neutral as you can. That's one thing that I've noticed. And I also went through to say which other musicians that had been singing against the for the people. I wouldn't want to say against the regime, because there's no one who is singing against the regime. What I've realized is people, they sing for what is right and what is enshrined in the constitution. So I've realized that in Uganda we have got Bob Wine. Bob Wine has been singing for the people, for what is supposed to be done in Uganda. And when he decided that he had to take politics to what has to be done, even before he started doing that, we have realized that he has been on the other side of the regime. And I understand he has been arrested numerous times. His life was threatened. He was injured, and his aides were also injured, some of them imprisoned. A number of things happened. And even when he contested the elections, he actually won the election. But unfortunately, because of the Urim 7 of Africa, they actually stole the election, as what also happens in Zimbabwe. But Dr. Maifa, what do you think about what the responsibility and the roles of the artists in Zimbabwe? I've just spoken about musicians, but broadly about the artists. What is your thoughts about it?
Thank you, host. Yes, the expressive or performing artists in Zimbabwe play an important role in shaping the country in general. We even take it back before independence. There used to be pungwes where the freedom fighters would lead in singing revolutionary songs that motivated people to want or desire change in the then Rhodesia. And once these songs were sung, we would see maybe flocks and flocks of school children and young adults crossing over into Zambia, crossing over into Mozambique to fight towards the liberation of Zimbabwe. So you find also people who do drama, people who do poetry, they have the same impact. And now in Zimbabwe, how free are these people to express their thoughts and feelings about what is going on around them? And we are also saying that being the case, we are facing elections. How can these expressive arts or performing arts shape the future of Zimbabwe as we are facing elections in 2023? Thank you, Mkoma Denford.
Tinotenda Dr. Maifa. And tichitaura nenyaya yema-artist, ma-artistic freedoms aya. One of the things zvakaitika mukati menyika yedu some few days ago, I think it was on a Sunday, when a popular dancehall musician, Winky D, anga aine show yake kuchitungwiza uko. And paakaenda kuchitungwiza uko, maybe ndoda kupa hangu background yekuti Winky D akaita dambudziko rekuti government inongofungidzira kuti iye music yake iri centered pacriticism yegovernment kana kuti zviri kuitika mukati menyika, but pane imwe music yake yandinoteerera ine chekuita kuti inonzi ibotso. Ndichiiteerera kuti payakatanga ichiimbwa, one thing that I've realized is this song is not purely about corruption as the regime would want to believe. This song is precisely about issues to do with abuses anoitikwa panyaya. If I'm not mistaken, I think Dr. Mafa, if you can accept trends, I'm having problems here on accepting him as a speaker. So isati uiswa vasati vafunga kuti ndo zviri kuitika, ibotso vanhu vanoda kudya zvevapfupi nekureba. It was basically speaking about those people who have got financial resources and they would want to actually abuse young children. If I'm not mistaken, I think I'm to be corrected. But I would want to believe possibly it was because of my friends who actually changed the things, and then they said the political elites are the ones who are eating because they have power. But this is when he was singing in Chitungwiza, what happened is the moment he started singing Iboto, then that's when Mapurisa akauya papa, and then they actually had to escort him out. And when people tried to pellet stones, as we see it on the visuals, he ended up actually also being pelted on. And we are not too sure. What I'm talking about is issues to do with the rights of artists in Zimbabwe being infringed by the regime. We are also told that artists like Baba Harare, whenever he would want to go and do his or perform gigs, he is now being seen as a political party or something. He has got to first inform the police or apply to the police to be given an opportunity to go and do his things. So these are some of the things that we are saying as we are discussing about this thing. Do we have artists in Zimbabwe being given their freedoms? And if they are speaking or if they are saying politics, is there anything wrong with them doing that? Because if you also check on the other side of our politics, we realize that we've got the artists such as Ja Preza, we've got Suleiman Chimbetu, we've got the late Chinks, we've got a number of those people who have been singing praises about the status quo. So I'm not too sure if when we have got musicians who are singing about the rights, about how people should go and register to vote, then they are seen as people, the enemies of the state. But I think I can go on and on and on. We've got trends here. We would want also to just go ahead trends.
Thank you, Denford, and greetings to everyone on the platform. When we look at the music, like our artists in Zimbabwe, music is so powerful. It's a vehicle of communication which is more than our political platforms and other things we do in the political space. So the fear with the government right now is how big Wingy D and Baba Harare are getting or are at the moment, and the followership they have, especially on the youth. So they know very well, it's like when people listen to Iboto, it's very relevant to what is happening today in the country. Because music is up to how you interpret it. You may think it's meaning something else, but as we see it, the music is so powerful. It is actually talking about bread and butter things. It's talking about what people are going through right now in Zimbabwe. So you will see the government now is afraid that, oh, this song is going to influence all the youth and think negatively about them, which is true. And people are really negative right now about the government in Zimbabwe, and they really want to change. So these are signs of desperation. They know very well that it's not going to be easy. It's not a walk in the park for them come election time. So they are trying to thwart every voice that is out there that is talking about what is happening. That's why you see right now, it's like, for example, I can take the issue in Murewa when people were being beaten, those elderly people. Instead of arresting those perpetrators, they arrested the people who were beaten, which is very unfortunate. So basically, by stopping them, to me, it's a blessing in disguise. I know it may have an impact on the artist's economic welfare, but on the political side, it's a blessing in disguise because everyone now want to know why they are being stopped. Everyone now want to listen to Iboto. Everyone want to follow Baba Harari's music to see what exactly are they being punished for. What exactly are they talking about? And this will actually put people, I mean, it will actually make people realize that, oh, it is true that, we are, especially for those who are still following them, that, something is wrong here. I think we need to change. And I will encourage people out there who are listening right now to say, these uh, remaining 10 days for voter registration, let's go out there and vote. Instead of greeting someone, how are you, Mtisangana? Ask them if you've registered to vote. And I think it is important for each and everyone to register and vote because protesting to vote is like surrendering your rights. You're surrendering. You have no right to complain tomorrow, even if things go the other way. So your vote is very important. People should go out there, register to vote, vote for the right thing, vote for Triple C, and make a change. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Doctor. I wanted to quickly ask him, Trends. I'll give you a chance. Sorry, Doctor. To Trends to say as you were speaking about what you were saying at the when the more the police and the regime is restricting the movement or how and when these guys should be singing, then it will actually give an impetus to the people that why is it that we are being restricted from actually accessing these people. But there's this event that took place in Tunguiza, especially when we are talking about the Wingy DC case where a plus or minus 500 people were in attendance. And when they attended, a police literally went onto the stage and they engaged Wingy D and possibly his management or his security or something like that. He was taken out of the stage by about not more than 3 or 4 police officers. There was an argument that came about, and one of the people who actually made that suggestion was the music guru Thomas Mafumo, who said Zimbabweans they are cowards. They are coward. Why would they let Wingidi be taken by only 3 police officers who were not armed, and 500 of those people they could have actually prevented him from being taken. I'm not too sure if you've got any view on that. What is your take on that?
Thank you, thank you. My take on that is yes, there are two sides to the coin here. Yes, we can be viewed as coward people because we let 3 people disturb a show that you have paid for. It was so easy to stop those cops from doing that. But what people in Zimbabwe really know right now is the government is so ruthless. They will be targeted people who will be in the crowd who they want to arrest. Because once you try to stop them, they will try to arrest other people and incarcerate them. And basically, they'll be looking for Triple C people who are in there. And they knew very well that the songs which Winkidi are singing, they are attracting opposition people to the shows. And they'll be looking for those people so that they can incarcerate them the way they are doing to our leaders like Job Scar. So it was a mixed kind of thing whereby there was fear, and they know the government is ruthless. And also, yes, the coward side is there too, because Zimbabweans they wait for leaders like our Triple C leader, our Triple C champion Nelson Chamisa, to actually be the voice for them. He can do so much, but people are also there to liberate themselves. if he doesn't get the support from people, he can do so, but he can only do so much. So yes, there is fear in Zimbabwe. People are being tortured. People are arrested for nothing. Because what will happen if there was a commotion in that uh, a show where people would actually attack those cops? You would see the following day, cops will be following Triple C leaders at their house, even some who were not even at the show, and arrest them. They will just find a way. So in a way, yes, there was some form of cowardice there when people didn't react. We need to know that when we are in a war or in a struggle like this, nothing comes on a silver platter. You have to fight. There will be casualties on the way. So this is, I mean, the basis of, I mean, of a struggle. So, but still, by keeping quiet, also it helped in a way that they said, oh, they didn't react. What does that mean? This is not stopping people to wonder why is being victimized. And people are listening more to those songs now. And they cannot control. They can stop him on ZBC, but they cannot control social media. The song is everywhere on YouTube, other platforms. People can still access those contents. They can still access that music and still listen to it. But they are campaigning for us in a way because the way they are doing it, it makes more people get interested on what is going on. So yeah, that's my view on the on the incident in Chungiza.
Thank you, Manjenjenje, for your submission. And oh, yeah, it's true that by banning those musicians or by stopping them, they actually motivate people to want to listen to them. And as you were giving your submission, I was thinking, I think people should actually get together and sponsor a big show where artists like Winky D and Baba Harare and other poets that are being monitored by the government would perform, and your only entry qualification there would be your registration slip for voting. And then let's see what happens from there. It's just my wild thinking. Without wasting time, I will give this opportunity to our sister Nicolette to speak. And thank you, Nicolette, for coming up.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maifa. A very good afternoon to everyone. Um, yeah, this issue of artistic freedom, I think it's a problem, and it points to the bigger problem of dictatorship that has crept into Zimbabwe. We find that the government is very partial in when it comes to the rules that they give to people. This is the same government who were celebrating Ja Precious' song. They were singing and dancing um, when he sang, is it Kutonga Kwaro or something like that? So they didn't have a problem with that. And also, when you look at some of these songs that are being sung by Winky D and other people, you find that they are pointing to the issues that are in Zimbabwe. So if the government was doing everything right, why would they have a problem with such songs? And these are also the same people who celebrated when Bob Marley sang his song, Zimbabwe, in, I think, 1979. They thought it was wonderful for him to sing that song. But now they don't want their very own people to sing about the things that are happening on the ground. And so it just shows us, the kind of government that we now have in place. They're working at stifling um, people's rights, people who don't support ZANU-PF, people who don't sing about ZANU-PF. They're working towards stifling their rights, and it's quite, I think, an embarrassment as well, in terms of, you find when crimes are being committed, the police don't even have transport to go to the crime scene. So you actually have to go and pick the police up to attend, say, for instance, a burglary or whatever it is at your home. But here the police were on standby, so that they could just stop this concept. So it shows also the priorities of the government. They don't care about citizens. What they care about is, what citizens are singing about. What they care about is what people are speaking about. And, instead of actually working towards fixing some of these issues that are being sung about, they're not doing anything about it. But they're working as hard as possible to stifle people's right and to instill fear in people. And I think this is the kind of behavior that, as citizens, we actually need to stop. We can no longer be bystanders just watching and saying, oh, it's okay. For those of us in the diaspora, we have the freedom to speak. We have the freedom to point out some of these things. So I think, we're now living in a time where we need to utilize all the platforms that we have to highlight the issues that are in Zimbabwe at the moment. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Sister Nicolette. And it's very true. It's very true that it's the misdirection of resources and the priorities. You see, say I remember some time back when I was in Masvingo province in a district called Chiredzi. There's a particular police station where people. That police station, it's surrounded by farms, and if the only sandana that was there was always breaking down and so on and so on, so you had to use a cycle to go and attend to the stock theft, and it was about 17 or even 20 kilometers. Why? Because the resources weren't there. But whenever there was a time when the late Morgan Tsvangirai was going to attend a political rally, either in Gibbo Stadium or in so on in Chiredzi there, you would find that each police station or other police stations would actually have to contribute vehicles and fuel that wasn't there, which was in scarcity during that time. You would really understand that all the vehicles would be in full tank. Why? Because they wanted to make sure that they would thwart all the opposition political activism that was taking place there. So the same applies to what you are telling us, Sister Nicolette. It is very true that the police, maybe there was a particular place where people were being raped or somewhere other crimes were being committed, but only to go and wait until Wingy D would start his Iboto song, and then they would pounce on him, and that's what exactly happened. But I think this discussion, we would want to broaden it and speak about this issue to say, actually, what is the role of artists? And when we talk about artists, like I said before, we need to be cognizant to the fact that we have got one of the mighty drama. We also talk about them. We talk about my social life. All those people who are involved in art. What are their responsibilities in the political discourse of Zimbabwe? In particular, their influence in making sure that things actually don't stay as they are. They should be changed. When we talk of change, sometimes people will always think that we would want to have a yes, of course, that is our objective. But sometimes you can also talk of change of policies to say, this is what is being done by ZANU-PF. They've been doing it for the past 43 years, but now we think this thing haven't been working. How can these things be changed? And at the same time, we'll also be actually talking of the overall change of saying there should be regime change where ZANU-PF is going to be removed and Triple C has been there. There's going to be put in place. And what is the role of the artists here? When I'm speaking about this thing, I'm made to think about what transpired during the liberation struggle. To say we've got the likes of Thomas Mafumo, Zex Manata, Chinks Chingaira, and a number of those other artists that actually participated in the liberation struggle. When when they were participating, these guys, they were actually singing songs for the liberation of Zimbabwe. And remember, the Rhodesian forces, they didn't want such songs to be sung. Why? Because they knew the power of music, they knew the power of poems, they knew the power of art. And what actually transpired was the fact that those guys who were composing music, those guys who were singing, some of them, they were actually doing it undercover. Why? Because they were afraid of being eliminated. They were afraid of being targeted. And this is what actually transpired. A number of musicians, they were arrested. Some of them actually had to go to exile. Now, the question comes: how would we compare the Rhodesian government and the Mnangagwa regime? Because it seems there are similarities. People were being arrested, people were being targeted, people were being eliminated during the regime era, and now we've got people who actually, remember, Thomas Mafumo, he left Zimbabwe some 15 or 10 years time ago. He's in Oregon, United States of America. And I understand some few months time ago, he couldn't come to say goodbye to his late brother. Why? Because he was afraid of being targeted by the regime. These are the signs that his songs are not compatible with the regime. And my question to you, Nicolette, before I go to Dr. Maifa, is to say, can we not conclusively say that possibly the regime of Ian Smith could be looked at as somehow better than the ED regime? The reason being, these guys, they were targeting black people, and these guys that have got a constitution that has got people's freedom in black and white, but they're actually not abiding by what is there. How would you sum up on this comment that Smith could have been a little bit better than what we are having here in the current liberated Zimbabwe?
Thank you very much, Danford, for your question. When during the Smith regime, I was still very young, so I'm not sure of the kind of things that were going on at that time. But based on what other people have said in terms of the stifling of freedoms and stuff like that, I would actually imagine that what's happening now is worse. And why I say that is because, the very black people who are in power right now, President Mnangagwa, the ZANU-PF people, they lived during the Smith regime. They know how painful it is, to be oppressed by somebody. They know how painful it is to be deprived of their rights and freedoms. And now they're the same people who are now the perpetrators of that same oppression. So it actually makes it worse. If they hadn't experienced the oppression of the Smith regime, we would say they don't know what it feels like, but they know what it feels like. They know what it feels like, and that doesn't concern them, and they go ahead anyway and do what they're doing. So it actually shows how heartless those people in government have been, because the majority of those people who are in government right now lived through the oppression of the Smith regime. Some of them were imprisoned. Some of them, were beaten. So they know how it feels like. Some of them lost, their relatives. They lost their friends. But now they are actually the instruments, of causing the same harm to other people. So there's no greater. I can't even think of the word. There is no greater crime against people than the person who experienced it becoming the perpetrator. So they know exactly what they're doing. So in my opinion, I think that makes them even a lot worse, than the Smith regime, because they know how it feels. They've experienced it, and now they themselves have come they've become the perpetrators. So I think that's how I would actually say it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Nicolette. And I want to agree with you to say the current government is actually worse because it's doing it against its own people. The Smith regime it was more of colonizers versus citizens. Now we can't have the government fighting against citizens. So I totally agree with you. So as we continue with our topic, we want to also map the way forward, see what can be done so that people can express their thoughts and feelings in their own country, including general citizens and including these performing artists, because they are part of the citizens too. Let's see how they can be allowed to express themselves. And we see soon after independence, people were celebrating and singing songs of praise for Mugabe, for Nkomo, for the liberation, war liberation fighters. But a, a, a few years down the line, like 5 years soon after independence, things were starting to change and people could feel it. General musicians started feeling it, and most people even switched to gospel music, where you would sing and complain about the abuses, about the rise of the cost of living, about the poverty creeping in. They were now hiding, behind gospel music, because if you're singing gospel, it's difficult for you to quickly get into trouble. But now, as it is, some musicians are trying to tackle it head on. And those who are in Zimbabwe are are actually at risk, and they are muzzled mostly. But you find that people who are abroad, like Mantafi and them, are still free to express themselves. A poet like Mkwasha Murombo, who is not in Zimbabwe, is free to express himself. But once you are in Zimbabwe itself, it becomes very tricky and difficult. I'll hand over this time back to the host so that he makes us listen and analyze this music as we map way forward to say for our elections, to encourage people to vote and to protect our vote, or to have reforms. How can we use these performing arts to express ourselves? Thank you, Nkoma Tenford.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I know for new comers here, they actually really surprised to say what is really happening. I see Amakita is here with us. Thank you very much for coming to the show. Almost an empty show, but we just have to continue because this is our program. The program starts at a particular time, ends at a particular time. We need to just be consistent with our program. So we go ahead. We've got the content that we are going to be speaking. We are speaking about the rights and freedoms of artists in Zimbabwe. And what we need to know is why is it that the regime has been so much afraid of what is being done by the regime? Maybe some of this music and chinofana kwachiri chinozikanwa nemazimbabweans or politicians ndechekuti how did the music actually shape during the time of the liberation struggle? How did it help, whether masoja kana kuti civilians chaizvo? Dr. Maifa, in your introduction, you were speaking about issues to do with nguva yehondo kwaendwa kumapungwe, nguva yehondo kwaendwa what really transpired was people became so much conscientized and people became so much united. Just now, I want you to, and when I am playing this music, it's not because I would want struggle tick was the fact that they were being inspired by some of the songs that were being sung. We cannot single-handedly say only music is the one that made Zimbabwe to be liberated, but it actually contributed. So there are some songs like let's listen to this one by Chinks Chingaira that he was singing. Yeah? This is Chinks Chingaira, who was singing about the country Zimbabwe, and it made people to be so patriotic. It made people to be so patriotic. Dr. Mefa, can you hear? Were you hearing the song, or I need to sort of up the volume?
I could hear. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, it's a bit long, but I just wanted you guys to hear that this is the kind of music that if somebody would have listened, and remember, people were actually indoctrinated by what they actually experienced during the liberation struggle. And when they were having that kind of music, it made them to go from one level to another. And when I deliberately had to play this song to say, this made people to come together. This made for people to be patriotic. This made people to make sure that they love their country. And this was being done in the name of ZANU-PF. Now, the Constitution of Zimbabwe actually provides that a person has got to make their political choice without being coerced. We are happy that during these liberation struggle songs, they were being sung not only by the soldiers or soldier they also played a role in making sure that the songs, they could not have sung the songs by themselves, but they had to bring everybody together, meaning to say so the issue of ZANU-PF is the only political party that made Zimbabwe to be liberated. I think it's just a myth. And when we now come to this subject that we are talking about now, that Zimbabweans are now being prohibited from expressing themselves or uniting themselves through song, when they made a political choice themselves, and they end up saying, when you want to play music, just be neutral, just play things that have got nothing to do with politics. But when you get into politics, you need to be prepared to face the consequences of politics. I'm not too sure for all the people that are on the platform to say, would we lower the bar of our political systems in Zimbabwe to say, whenever somebody would want to play a music for politics, then they are supposed to be prepared to have scars because you have chosen this. I don't know. Let me come to Trent. Later on, I'm going to be playing a song that has been sung by one who is from the side of Triple C. Trent, do you have got anything to talk about what I've just played and what I've just spoken?
Thank you, Denford. Basically, when we look at the history of music, music is one of the instruments used for consciousness, like trying to communicate with the people. Like it will date back, I mean, to periods where, I mean, way back when our ancestors or traditional people, they used music and dance to communicate. So I think the government in place right now, they haven't forgotten that the music is so powerful. It reaches so many people when we when we listen to it, and this actually uh, make musicians a threat to some of the things the government are doing because they don't want to be exposed. But the power of music is very important, and they are not protected right now if you look at our musicians. And why people are not protected today is because of how we have allowed people tampering with the constitution, giving themselves executive powers to an extent that they can decide on behalf of the people instead of people deciding on what they want in their constitution. Like we were talking about the Smith regime, you have some of the people who are lucky to live in both worlds. Like you would say the Smith regime was better compared to the regime today because right now we can say you and if we look back in the Smith regime, schools were functional, hospitals were functional, roads were usable, and everything was there, food was there. But if you remember, Smith had even the worst sanctions than what we have today in Zimbabwe. But he managed to thrive, the economy was working. So today, it is our own people who are making their own people suffer. A lot of people have been killed. A lot of people have been maimed during the process. There are some musicians who are allowed to go sing whatever they want. I think you've mentioned them, the likes of Japreza and other people who are singing something that is in line with the status quo. But if you try to sing something that is true, that will raise consciousness to people, it becomes a crime in Zimbabwe, which is an infringe on artistic human rights, which is very wrong. So I think it is time for people to wake up and smell the coffee and say, okay, if Wikipedia has got more than a million followers on his platform, what does it say to us when they sing about Iboto? Botoracho Chimboriche, you know. And he was singing idiomatically in a way that he didn't actually pinpoint anybody to say ZANU PF or Triple C. He was just talking about Iboto. Boto, we all know about it when beat your mother, you not under Boto and things like that. So this is the same way the Zimbabwean economy is being run. So yeah, musicians in the conscious movements, they are synonymous. That's why you see the likes of Ching Singaira, Thomas Mapumo, Oliver Mtukudzi, during their time, during their prime time during the war, they were being loved by the regime because they were singing positively about them. They were actually inspiring people. So this same inspiration where people are inspired by music, by their musicians, is now what the government is thwarting, which is just a move of desperation. So I think we need to find a way on how we can support our musicians, inviting them in diaspora to have a show so that they can have an upkeep. But still, it will come with some cost on them, I think. Even if you invite people at the likes of Wingy D, either to South Africa or UK, America, to come and have a show, they will be arrested on their work page because they were told that they are not patriotic. Because they signed the patriotic bill again, which is there to infringe the rights of people. So it's a struggle. We have to face it and, know that there will be casualties, like I said before.
Thank you, Manjenje. And I also grew up in a time where I experienced the Smith regime too. So the song that you played, Mkoma Denford by Chinks, Chinks was very popular when we were growing up. And, there was a radio station that was transmitting from Mozambique. The Voice of Zimbabwe. Correct me, Manjenje, if I'm right there.
Yes.
Every Voice of Zimbabwe, every evening, kuma 7 kwatita, we would gather together in a corner, because you wouldn't want to raise the radio volume that much, because you'd get into trouble lest somebody spied on you or the soldiers. So we would listen to this voice of Zimbabwe. And sekutaura kwandamboita, once you listen to one song ichimbwa nachingaira ari paMozambique, I tell you, schools in Zimbabwe were deserted. Everybody who was mature enough in their 15s, 16s crossed over to Zambia, where ZIPRA was operating from, crossed over to Mozambique, where Zanla forces were operating from, because of the strength of that music. And Chinks was right there singing like never before. So there's power in music. And like Manjenje just said, let's find a way of supporting the performing artists. They could be our poets, Vana Abel Mauchi, Vana Baba Mkwasha Mrombo, and other musicians. If we support them, they could help us bring change to Zimbabwe. Because even right now, we could be encouraging people to vote through these performing arts. We could encourage people to defend their vote through these performing artists. So we could talk on and on and on and go on. But let me give this time to Amai Kita. Welcome to this space. And please give your submissions and give us, the way forward. So vari kurambidzwa kuimba vana WinkyD kuti vaunze a message of change and encourage people to bring change. Todini, over to you, Maikita.
Dr. Amaifa, before Maikita, I wanted to, the trend didn't, or maybe just skipped it unknowingly. This question that I gave you, how substantive or feasible is it, such a statement, if in the first place, musicians kana avachiimba vachiti Cooksman achitaura nyaya kuti chamisa chete chete tinoda tiri kusinga ngaivhoterwe, and then WinkyD achitaura nyaya yebotso iro rinoona. Does that justify the regime to retribute on them as musicians, not as ordinary Zimbabwean whose rights are being abused to such an extent that they will end up saying, kana wafunga zvokuimba tafunga kuti imba zvinhu zviri neutral, but kana wafunga kuimba politics, just accept all that because these are the consequences. I'm not too sure how you can comment on that, comment on that, Dr. Maifa, before I make it.
Over to you, Manjenje.
Basically, on that one, basically, it's an infringement on human rights, because basically what is happening is like we need to have freedom of communication, freedom of speech in a democracy. So this actually tells you that you are living in a dictatorship, whereby whatever you sing, say, talk is censored. Someone is there listening to you, what you are saying. If you are politically incorrect to them, then it becomes an offense, which is not in the constitution, which is not enshrined anywhere in the laws of Zimbabwe. So this is a typical situation where you can actually, a typical situation in a country where there's a dictatorship, where people are not free to say what they want, to sing what they want, because of the regime which is there, which actually doesn't like any opposition. People actually, they don't understand that when we allowed the constitution to change multiple times, we were driving towards kind of a one-party state scenario where the current government does not allow any other political players to do it freely in the economy, in the country. So there is a very, very gross of human rights violation. Communication is not free in Zimbabwe. You cannot say what you want freely. Everything is censored. which is very unfortunate for a country like ours.
Comrade Enford, are you satisfied or you want to ask more questions?
No, no, no. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I'm very much satisfied. Go ahead and give Amakita a chance to speak.
Over to you, Amaikita. Welcome, Dr. Diamond. Amaikita, the microphone is yours.
Thank you very much for a wonderful discussion here. This is quite exciting and saddening at the same time, because music, according to Peter Tosh, I can't remember if it is him, my head is getting rusty now. He said music is food. Everybody loves music. So you cannot put boundaries on music. That's number one. But before I delve into the topic, the, the music is part of our African culture. When people, long ago, people were, when they went hunting, they were hunting lions, vicious animals that would be uh, that were very dangerous and would turn around and kill them. But they get strength in singing and chanting. They would sing, "Yave nyama yokugocha, baya wabaya," and they got excited and motivated, and they would attack. That is the role of music. In the village, people would sing. You can tell that the song can tell it was a way of communication. When people were not as enlightened as we are today, that they would talk to say, my husband, he has done this to me, my wife, he has done this to me. But people would sing when mom is sweeping outside or grinding a meal on the pestle. They'll be singing out what their thoughts are, their thought processes. You could tell it's a song of happiness, or she's saying out something. Coming back to the current generation of us now, Thomas Mafumo, as an example, was singing for the freedom fighters during the Liberation War. He was singing. Thomas Mafumo sang. Oliver Mtukudzi sang. Hangaiwa dzakatetereka mukadziona hamusadziuraya tangai maenda kunane handa. And Thomas Mafumo was singing about Chiruzeva Chapera, when people were putting in kips and everyone was celebrating the Thomas Mafumo today now, who they are calling a villain. But Thomas Mafumo supported them. As soon as we got into independence, 10 years down the line, Thomas Mafumo, as a visionary person and a voice of the voiceless, started to see the suffering we are seeing today. If you listen to his songs, Nyika Yenyu Yavamamvemve and Corruption, all these songs, he was seeing way into this dispensation we are in now, that things were not going on. And the government started hating him. The same people who were celebrating him started saying Thomas Mafumo, Haite. In the end, he had to run for dear life, and now he's stationed in America. Not because of his choice. He really wants to come home, and he is for the people. Japres are saying, Mudara Vachauya, and it made hits. We used to sing it until we realized where they were going. I banned that song even in my house. If I am at a party or someone put that song, I'll go and sit outside. I don't even want to listen to it. Why? Because it brings me that hope and joy we thought was coming. Mudara things are going to get better. So if these people were for the people, this government of the day was for the people, they wouldn't be saying Japanese songs are okay. These songs, Chinks was a freedom fighter. When he was singing for them, he was their darling. When he started singing, Roger confirm, where are we leading? They started attacking him. Remember, he was beaten up and he had his house demolished because he was now singing part of against them, and he died a pauper, even though they gave him whatever status they gave him. But we all know that he was victimized. So this is the government which eats its own people. The government eats its own citizens. If you dare point out a wrong, there is a saying in our shona which says, kugocha kunoda kwamai kwemwana kunodzima moto. They think they have the know-how. They don't want to learn anything. If I was part of that government, I would listen to these musicians and solve the complaints, what they are complaining about. But no, they decide to be Smith tenfold, because Smith never attacked musicians at this rate. Like even the banning of Baba Harare's music show, closing down a Winky D show. That was not fair. So the way forward is those who are outside for safety reasons, they must continue to sing. Those who are outside. The Winky D's, Winky D doesn't have to do much now because he's in a compromised position if he's in Zimbabwe. But his songs, we can continue to play them everywhere. We can support them by subscribing to their YouTube, playing them all the time. And look what God has done. He's been named to be one of the competence in a bigger African thing. Baba Harare, Anadi Fire, all those musicians who came out to support us, support their music. Let's buy their music on YouTube. Let's encourage our family members to follow them. This is the best way of supporting them. And we continue to speak out like we are doing here. Thank you for opening this space. Let's speak out, because very soon Marakash will be listening to this. And as a recorded thing, they will listen to what we are saying. Even if they don't respond positively to it, but they will hear it, that we are not happy with the way they are treating. And we all know that Japresa was the darling of the system, because he was in a relationship with that Rushwaya. We all know that. So we don't want to delve in their private lives, but let the music be the food for the suffering people. When you are in our position of being away from home and you hear songs which are saying what it is in town, they want us to say there are beautiful roads in Harare when there are potholes. They want to say that the economy is okay when all the companies we grew up seeing vibrant. CSC in Chinoi was massive. It is send nyama ku EU, Europe and everywhere. Vanamelin Tower, all these companies were shut down, and now they are that country. I don't know where even if they are driving around town, I don't know where they got these people. I don't know. Probably they've got tinted windows. They don't see the suffering. So music, let's continue. Even put a what we normally put on online to support the musicians' plight in Zimbabwe. I can't remember what is it. Not a GoFundMe, but just something to air out our view, to support them that this is what is happening for the history, so that they will be written down that this government was this evil, so that children will remember what we went through, because they will say, what were you doing? Why didn't you sing against them? So we need to do all these things, and support our musicians in as much as we can. If there is a show allowed, let's go in numbers. Let's send money to our folks at home to go and support them. And I've even banned myself. I don't listen to their music at all. If even if I see someone have just released a song which I don't like on my Facebook, I just say hide the thing, so that no one on my group of friends and don't see it. Tit for tat, that's a fair deal, because they started it. So let's do it as well. If you see my thing, child dancing, I just put hide the video. I don't watch it, I just hide it. Ndochinyudza, apana anochiona. So versions go. Saka tofamba takadaro tichienda takaenda. Thank you so much for raising this topic, and it's really good. Let's support our musician in every way possible. Patinaita mashows edu mukaita a break. Isai ma musicians edu. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Amakita, and your stance. It's very workable. It's very workable because right now, like you're talking about this issue of Facebook, WhatsApp, and different other social media platforms. That's how people get to be known. And if you also make sure that your preferred artist that are on your side, they can also be elevated through that, then it will help. When you spoke about that, I also how Thomas Mapfumo became so much unpopular in the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation. I'm not too sure if any one of Winky D's songs have been played on ZTV, ZBC, and any other, the Baba Harare and so on. I don't believe they've been played. So what I also remember at one moment, was it Dr. Diamond or somebody? I remember somebody was speaking passionately about issues to do with the power of information. Whenever things have been spoken or are being spoken about, it is so powerful and people will listen to it. So as we are on these platforms, we need to speak about it. And as we've also said that it's important that on our platforms that we will be doing on space, on commercial break, let's just play this music. It is making sure that our artists are known, and at the same time the word is actually going. Right now, let me quickly play this other song, after which we will get Nicolette to speak her mind. Let's see here. So this is Thomas Mapfumo, who has been who was the darling for the regime during the liberation struggle, and he sang so much. He helped to mobilize people. He helped people to come together. He actually advocated for young children to go to Bata Gidi Masango Kenda Mozambique through his music. And I'm telling you, if during that time when we heard about the Mkoma Chinks, Comrade Chinks, the kind of music, it actually inspired a lot of people, and even the parents who could even wanted to have their children not to go to war, they actually said that they have to go to war. Why? Because of what they hate. So it is very important that as we have got our people who can play my songs kuti tinoda change mukati menyika yeZimbabwe, let's listen to that, let's continue playing that. It will propagate that instinct of saying we need to change our country, and it will also give us power to say, even during the time when Winky D, I spoke about that, was being escorted by the 3 police officers, such music will actually empower people and give people power to say, no, we can't let our musician go. Let us protect. It is debatable, but I think we need to come together. Dr. Maifa, what have you to say before we go to Nicolette?
Thank you, Commander. Thank you, Amai Kita. And like Amai Kita said, music is functional. Vana mama vachikuya pane music yacho, vana mama vachipura pane music yacho. So the same goes for religion and politics. munhu anotendeuka chaiko kuti ai ndakuda kunamata because they've listened to music, they've heard a song. So the same power that music has to make somebody change their decision, dambe ndichiba, dambe ndichiroya, kana dambe ndichifeva, but this song touched or preached to me, ndakuda kutendeuka, ndakuda kuita mushe. The same applies to politics. I mean, she supporters but if I listen to this music, it can convert me. So thank you very much, Amai Kita. And I liked it most when you said ndochinyudza. Aiwa ngati zvinyudze hama dzangu. Whatever is against change and against development in Zimbabwe, chinyudze, like Amai Kita said. And Amai Kita already spoke about nyika yaita mamvemve. So let me give this time back to Nicolette. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maifa. Yes, it's true. You know, music has always played a very integral part in our culture as Zimbabweans. At funerals we sing, at weddings we sing, you know, at a party we sing. You know, it's part of who we are. We've always sang about what's going on in our lives because that's how we actually communicate, you know, how we're feeling about whatever is happening. And, you know, as earlier mentioned, you know, we have so many artists who have sang about the things that are, you know, happening in the country. We also had people like Andy Brown who used to sing about what was happening during the time. So this is not something new where artists actually sing about what's happening in the country. What's new is the treatment of the artists themselves. You know, and music is actually a worldwide phenomenon. We find that you know, whenever you know, during the time of the drought in Ethiopia, that's where we had We Are the World, USA Africa, where there was the earthquake in Haiti, we had We Are the World Haiti. You know, here in the UK, we've had Band Aid. All these kind of songs, they kind of like bring people together on one page. Even during the time of apartheid apartheid in South Africa, it was music, you know, that brought people together. They sang about their struggle, you know, and they stood together, you know, during their struggle. You know, if anybody watched Sarafina, you know, you can see the part that music played during that time. You know, even the time of Steve Biko and stuff like that. So music is really important. It's really important. So the thing that is important to us now, the government is trying to take that away from us, to censor, you know, the kind of things that we sing about. And I think as a people, we really need to think about it. You know, what can we do to stop what is happening? You know, I once read about an experiment with frogs. And water slowly increase the temperature, you know, it will reach the point of death. It will not jump out. And I think this is what's happening in our situation in Zimbabwe. Slowly, you know, our rights and freedoms are being taken away, and we as a people are doing nothing about it. We're just watching until a point where eventually everything would have been taken away from us. And, you know, by the time we wake up, we'll be like, what happened? And yet we've been watching all these things happening. So I think, you know, as a people, we really need to come together. We need to wake up and stand up, you know, stand up for what is right, you know, for our people. Yeah, thank you.
So thank you very much, Sister Nicolette. And I think as we are getting to the end of our show, we would want to really come to the point where we say, can we say in Zimbabwe, our artists have got a freedom of expressing themselves, because that is the only language that they can use on whichever subject that they would want to speak about. So do they have the right? Do they have the freedom to really converse what they would want to their fans, to everyone on the ground? Just see, in the next week we are going to be having a blitz voter registration, where we need to enlighten our people, where we need to disseminate information about where are the registration centers, how do we have to go there, what particulars are we supposed to be taking there. There are some people in Zimbabwe who do not have that information. And one thing that people would also want to understand is, it is important that people have got to make sure that when they are speaking as artists, they command so much of respect. They command so much of people who really know that when someone like Amaikita as a singer speaks, I would want to believe it is the truth, and it's something that is coming from a authority. And these artists, they've got authority on their side. So I think it's important that as we are going to be giving the freedom and also supporting our artists, we need really to understand their roles and their importance. But like I said, we are getting to wind up our program. The speakers that we have, we can quickly speak of what do we think have to happen, especially on the repression that has been happening on our artists. And when we talk of artists, we're not only talking about singers. There are different types of them that we have, that Dr. Maifa has spoken. But Dr. Maifa, go ahead.
Thank you, Comrade Denford. We have mentioned already, and welcome CCC NAP. We've already mentioned that we have poets like Abel Mauchi, we have Mkwasha, Franganga Mrompo, we have musicians. And how can we protect them? But as we wind down the show, I don't want to be controversial, but I just want to speak out my mind to say we have already songs that might help us bring change in Zimbabwe, or that might maintain a status quo in Zimbabwe. My question is, how can we promote our performing artists to focus on an institution rather than on an individual? Because it worries me, because I think once we focus on an individual, dictatorship will come in, and self-pomposity, somebody feels big, their head becomes bigger. Takuimba takati idive. Zimbabwe is not about that person. Takaimba takati maifave. It's not about me. It's about Zimbabwe. It's about an agenda, an ideology that we should be pushing. And I kindly ask Manjenjenje to give a way forward. Should we focus on an individual? Should we focus on an ideology as we encourage people to bring change? Thank you. Muchipoera hapo Manjenjenje. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay. I can hear you.
Maybe you can respond.
I think yes. I think he is a bit tied up on something. Yeah, it is something that can be of controversy, but I think what's important is whenever we are not only singing, but how we speak our minds, how we speak everything that we talk about. I think it is important that we promote the agenda, we promote the broader issue that we would want to change, because there is more of it to the institution than to anyone else. Mugabe has been there and he has been spoken about, but now he's gone. ED is there and they sing about him. There's a likelihood of him actually going, and unfortunately, it brings about to the actual the demise of the institution that was supposed to be talked about. But it's something that is so important to actually speak about. I see Dr. Ranga is with us. He can speak. He can speak. And now that we are almost going, but we'll give him much of his time that all that he wants to speak. We know. Go ahead, Dr. Ranga.
My brother Denford, I'm right. But thank you. So Parizaiza and Zigone, my brother. Yeah, I'm not like a minister. When my space is like Mimi, and I speak, I don't stop. But hello to everyone. Hello, Dr. Maifa, Trends, my brother Dobbs, my sister Estella. This is a very important topic. I know that today we have a lot of people in a very hot discussion going on the other side of town. And I think that is why we don't see a lot of people here. But that's not to say this is not an important topic and that serious people are addressing it. So that said, the good news is that whatever you guys have discussed is recorded so that people can look back and probably it becomes a better discussion when people with a close-knit family and we can talk about this. So obviously, I don't want to hog the mic a lot, but what I wanted to say was, you can't tell an artist how to express themselves. That has been true over the years, whether it's in Zimbabwe or in other countries. Artists, they entertain us, whether it's through drawings, whether it's through music, whether it's through my poems, all kinds of artists. The world runs on art if we, one way or the other. So when a country like our country tries to suppress artistic freedom, that's a mistake. It's a big mistake because art impression is something that you can't legislate. People like Wingidi, it's crazy. What unites us is music. Yeah, Wingidi. If it's not music, Wingidi, it's Caxman. It's a lot of these artists that come up, and some people we don't like their politics, so we don't listen to their music, and that's fine. Not everybody is going to identify with the artistry that somebody does. And that is why it is important to promote democracy, even in art, in industry, in the way we govern ourselves, because people have freedom to choose. And Wingy D, I understand the music. I'm saying Wingy D because a lot of this, I'm sure this title was informed by what has happened to Wingy D in the last couple of weeks. But he is not the only one that has been subjected to trauma and pain unnecessarily by those running our government, which is unfortunate. But if you look, you'll find that he has had more than 1 million, views on whether in Zimbabwe, whether he bought. So Zimbabweans are voting by listening to his music. And no government can legislate that. Thank God for social media. They might stop it on ZBC, FM, and all these other channels that they think they control. But still, citizens are sharing Winky D music every day. They are voting with their ears, with their hearts, with their minds. And there's nothing you can do about it. That's the news we should be spreading to those running our government. who think they can control everything. You can't control an artist. But now that I have rendered a little bit, my brother Danford, I should stop here. Because as you know, I can't stop. Thank you.
No, Dr. Ranga, I know you could have gone ahead, but it's okay. Thank you very much. Like I said, we are almost getting to the end of our show. We really appreciate your coming in, and we acknowledge that there is so much of a discussion that is happening across the other side. But like a principled institution, we always said that our show is recorded, and the content is what is important. The attendance, yes, it is important, but we need to understand that circumstances cannot be the same on daily basis. So we insisted that we need to go ahead with our show. Just like next week, we will simply go ahead until we get to the election, even before the election. That's what we need to do. But Dr. Maifa, go ahead, and we are getting to ending our show.
Yes, previously when I called Manchenji, he was failing to unmute. I see he's now back. So Manchenji, please give your submission and a conclusion, your final remarks as far as this discussion is concerned. Thank you, Manchenji.
Thank you, Dr. Mai. Greetings, Dr. Ranga. Basically, in conclusion, I would say, our artists, they play a very important role in our society in disseminating information. And their works are based on creativity. So no government or any person should be allowed to thwart their efforts of being creative and try to send the message out there in one way or the other. About these artists singing about politics, about political parties, is their choice because every human being is free to associate with any organization they wish. So I don't see that as a problem. Let people choose what they want. Some they want to sing gospel. Omarudakimba Mashikiro. Some people they sing different type of music on different subjects. So why would you pinpoint politics as something that should not be addressed through music? But yes, we know the environment we are living in Zimbabwe. We are living with a government that is very fearful, but they know they've overstayed their they've overstayed in Zimbabwe. Nobody likes them at the moment, and they know these are their final days, and they try by all means to cling to power, to cling to every thread they have left. But still, we can see that the thread is just about to break, and there's nothing they can do about it. They can embarrass people who are singing different types of music, embarrass people who are involved in different types of art, but still the message is going out there. People are listening, people have heard them, so there's nothing much they can do. And I don't think it's appropriate for a country in this time and age in democracy where we can dwell on minor things like music, musicians who are upcoming and try to frustrate their efforts. That's very unfortunate on the part of Zimbabwe. I think they've realized their mistakes. They will realize their mistakes someday and correct it. And maybe I was expecting to see even the Minister of Arts and Culture to intervene or even apologize or stopping what is happening right now. But Zimbabwe is ruled by fear. They also fear for their jobs in life, and that's why they are quiet because the country is run by a junta. So it's a very difficult situation. But we'll keep supporting our artists in one way or the other. Let's go on their platforms, let's subscribe and like them so that they can still monetize and have a way of living. They still have some income coming in. So thank you.
Thank you, Manchenji, and over to you, host.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much to the Trends, to Dr. Ranga, Maikita, Champion Estella, we appreciate your coming in from the beginning of our show until now. And thank you so much for your excelling work that you are doing. You are making the program run from both different platforms. We appreciate the work that you do. Dr. Amaifa, thank you very much for being there today as well. I know it could have been difficult for some people who are not used to having a platform where 2 or 3 people are giving their submissions. But like I said before, that the show still has to go ahead, and we know circumstances are different. There are a lot of things that people to engage themselves in, and there are some shows that they also need to listen to. It's not a mandatory thing that people have got to always come to the show, but we really appreciate the time, and it is important that today we are fully, in as much as we could not have been as many people, but we engaged ourselves, we spoke about what had to be spoken, and now I think I've learned so much about how Zimbabwe's politics can be shaped through the use of our artists, and these people can use their individual rights, not as musicians, but them being Zimbabweans, they also have their rights to be respected because they are also voters. I would want to end by also saying that we need to encourage each other to also encourage other people, especially on the ground, as I believe that most of us, if not all of us here who are on the platform, could not be on the ground in Zimbabwe. But our responsibility, especially on the registration list that is going to be taking place next week, it is our responsibility to engage people on the ground and encourage them to go and do what they need to do, and not, it doesn't have only to end on the registration, but also to exercise their constitutional right to vote, and after voting they need to actually defend, so that the chances of rigging will actually be minimized. But I really thank everybody. Back to Dr. Amaifa, and you can end the space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, host. Thank you, Manjenjenje. Thank you, Dr. Ranga. Thank you, Amaikita. Thank you, my little sister there, Estella. We appreciate your being here. And like we said, the discussion was meaningful and it's recorded. We can encourage our friends and relatives to listen. And like what Amaikita said, let's follow these musicians on Facebook, Twitter, their YouTube channels. We subscribe to them. Let's support them in every possible way. Let's engage them so that we bring change to Zimbabwe. And I wish you a wonderful week ahead, and may God protect you all. And